Okay, I think we are going to go ahead and get started. First of all, hello, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today on SCOM Managed Instance. My name is Harold Dyke, founder and president of Silex Software. And joining me today is Aakash from the SCOM product team. Aakash, are you there?
Hey, hi, Harold. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Excellent. And as well, we have Mike from Silex on the call. And we'll, just by way of logistics, we do have a Q&A window set up. So if you do have questions that you'd like to ask during today's session, please use that Q&A window to ask any questions you may have of Aakash or of the team from Silex. And we're really excited about today's webinar. You know, for many of us, this is going to be a first look at something that we've heard about and have anticipated for quite some time, which is SCOM Managed Instance. Previously, they referred to it as Aquila. And clearly, by the response we had to this webinar, the attendees, there's a lot of interest in SCOM MI. So let's go ahead and get started. By way of an agenda, we're going to keep this very focused on SCOM MI. I'm going to hand things over to Aakash momentarily to talk, give us an overview of SCOM Managed Instance. What is it? Why is it important? How does it affect us as SCOM users? And then Aakash is going to provide us with a demonstration of SCOM MI. And then we're going to take a look at some of the migration considerations. And obviously, migration from one SCOM environment to another is a very large topic. We're just going to narrow it down and look at some aspects of migration and things to consider. And then we'll wrap things up and have some Q&A as well. So without any further delay, Aakash, I am going to hand things over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Harold. Sorry. I'm going to quickly share my screen. Just confirm once you see that.
Yes, I can see your screen fine.
Okay. I'm going to disable my video. Again, just give me a quick disclaimer. I'm on a poor network connection. So pardon if I get dropped off. I'll try to join back as soon as possible. Okay. Having said that, I'm just going to this down. Yeah. Again, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks, Harold, for having us. Having Microsoft here and for closely working on this project prior to the release as well. And yeah, welcome everyone. My name is Aakash. I'm a product manager at Microsoft. For folks, so I'm sure at least some of them I've worked closely with, and some of them I've interacted over either on the blogs or on direct conversation. And yes, we are excited to announce that the preview version of Azure Monitor SCOM Managed Instance is available for any Azure user, right? And we're just gonna go ahead and quickly talk about what the overview is, what are the value prop of the product, and the current preview, how does it look like, along with the the roadmap, the prerequisites, and the resources. Okay, let's talk about what is Azure Monitor SCOM Managed Instance. Let's start with the name. And before we get into the name, Harold, just let me know if there are any interesting questions or if there's any question that you want me to take related to the slide. I'm not looking at the chat window for now.
Sure, will do, Aakash.
Okay, thank you. So just start with the name. Again, it's Azure Monitor SCOM Managed Instance. It is a product which will complement Azure Monitor. This is a product which is a cloud alternative for SCOM built out of Azure. And built for hybrid scenarios for on-premise and cloud monitoring. And as I mentioned, it's going to complement Azure Monitor for customers who have been longing to use management pack in cloud. So SCOM Managed Instance is the window to that. And it's a full feature parity to the product. You can go ahead and use all the first-party and third-party management packs, and it will work as is. We'll talk about what migration, what is the current migration journey for our existing users, and yeah, we'll talk about the migration piece in a bit. Having said that, SCOM is a managed service by the name Managed Instance. That means that all the underlying working of SCOM is taken care by the cloud provider. In our case, it is Microsoft, right? When I say it is when I talk about the underlying solution or underlying services, such as databases, such as patching, such as creating and deleting underlying management servers, the hardware maintenance, all of it is taken care of by Microsoft, and hence the name managed service. Let's talk about what is the main takeaway and the value prop, as well as what customer pain points that we are solving with the help of SCOM MI. First and foremost, infra management of SCOM MI. We have seen many customers who have dedicated monitoring admins taking a look at, patching the SCOM, testing those patches in Q&A, moving it to test, testing it in test in a dev or a test environment, moving it to Q&A, and then moving it to prod. Right? Those are valuable work hours or man hours that we are going to save with the help of this managed solution. And not only that, the databases which are hosted by SCOM MI will be stored on SQL MI, right? SQL managed instance. So you are kind of eliminating the management of SQL servers as well, right? Some of the minute things which you would do as a SQL DBA probably will still remain, such as taking a look at the size of the managed databases, or probably querying the data if required, because the databases will be sitting on user's tenant, and you will have the freedom and flexibility to go ahead and manage those databases if needed. Okay, uh, and and at the beginning of a call, we talked about the management pack ecosystem. It's a very big ecosystem that we have. People have developed their own custom management packs based on their business requirements. Those were not being translated into rules and monitors in Azure, right? Though Azure Monitor is a really powerful tool, but the customers who've been working with management pack, they were not able to translate them into Azure Monitor rules, right? But in this case, you can go ahead and lift and shift all those management packs. You can take those overrides, back them up, and restore them on SCOM MI, and they will continue to work as is. Okay, and secondly, the fragmented experience, right, between how SCOM was intended for monitoring on-prem, whereas Azure Monitor was intended to move, to go ahead and monitor cloud solution, cloud workloads, right? SCOM MI is going to bridge that gap. It's going to help, help monitor all the workloads and applications in hybrid scenarios with a single pane of glass experience, right? The SCOM MI is gonna solve for the fragmented experience which I just talked about, right? Because the whole product is built out of Azure, and the management of SCOM MI will also be in Azure with a small asterisk there. Okay, we'll talk about what that conditions in a couple of minutes. Having said that, let's quickly jump into what does an existing SCOM MI look like, right? An existing SCOM MI, I'm just gonna use a pen, hopefully it works. Yeah, in the center over here, this will be our SCOM managed instance, which is born in Azure, where and the databases are hosted in SQL managed instance. And again, the underlying, you will have management servers. The similar concept still exists, but the only thing is there is going to be an Azure load balancer, which will sit between the agents and the management servers. So when we go ahead and create a SCOM-managed instance, it's essentially creating a management group with the front loaded with an Azure load balancer, right? This is going to take care of all the communication between agents which are hosted in cloud, which are hosted in on-premise as well as in cloud, right? Whatever is hosted on these two data centers, you can go ahead and monitor them, and the Azure load balancer will go ahead and load balance those requests and communication layer, right? Having said that, we will have reporting built with Power BI, right? We are moving away from SSRS, and you can make use of the rich and really powerful intuitive reports and dashboards that you can build out of Power BI by directly talking to the SQL MI databases, right? You have multiple management layers, multiple management options available in SCOM MI, which is scaling, patching, all of that, which can be done seamlessly with the click of a button. Okay, and as I mentioned, you can manage the SCOM managed instance with Azure Portal on the browser. However, you can still continue to use the operations console and the web console, which is traditionally used with the SCOM on-prem. So you can use the same operations console and web console to go ahead and talk to SCOM MI, right? Anything which is on operations console 2022, you can connect to SCOM MI, right? And even if you do not have, or if you don't want to use an existing operations console in an on-prem machine, you can go ahead and install the ops console, which is available with the product. You can install it on your work machine and then talk to SCOM MI, right? So we have intentionally kept operations console and web console. The reason is for a person who is well accustomed of using SCOM on-prem or SCOM application, uh, they would want to continue to monitor whatever is in on-prem as well. So with using the ops console, now they can go ahead and manage a SCOM MI too, right? So eventually we will go ahead and bring in Azure Portal as one-stop solution for managing as well as monitoring using SCOM MI. But in the preview version, you can go ahead, you will need to use ops console to look at the monitoring side of SCOM MI, and you use the portal to go ahead and manage anything on SCOM MI. Very few clicks, and you can manage the entire SCOM MI in a matter of few minutes and few seconds. Okay, and yeah, let's move on to what do we get in the current preview. In the current preview, you can go ahead and deploy a SCOM managed instance in Azure. You can manage it through the Azure portal, and you can go ahead. You can use the operations console and the web console. And of course, the existing management packs also can be used. Database maintenance is practically zero because all the databases is hosted on SQL MI. So SQL MI needs to be created, or you can leverage an existing SQL MI instance which is in your Azure. You can go ahead and validate monitoring data using Operations Console. You can then we are removing the use of, or removing the need of, those traditional SCOM service accounts which are there in SCOM on-prem. Yeah, still, right? We're replacing that with a single managed service identity, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And then you can always go ahead and monitor the SCOM MI itself, right? You can know the health of the SCOM MI instance. Another important thing which I forgot to mention here is with SCOM MI, the underlying piece, when we talked about the SCOM management servers, these SCOM management servers are hosted with the help of virtual machine scale set, right? So we make use of Azure virtual machine scale set, which can seamlessly scale in and scale out, add more servers, remove redundant servers, with a click of a button. So we're making use of virtual machine scale set and Azure load balancer as an underlying underlying service, right? This is just an additional information, more of a technical information, FYI types. Okay. Having said that, let's go ahead and this was the same thing which I was going to say. So one SCOM managed instance is equal to one management group. And when you create an instance, you get one management server built within the instance, which is hosted on VMSS and load balancer. And then the traditional two databases would be created in the SQL MI, right? The operations DB and the data warehouse DB. Okay. Some of the manual actions that you would need to go ahead and perform is install, or if already installed, go ahead and connect your ops console with SCOM MI. Same repeat for web console. Agent installation is an additional activity that is on machines which do not have agents installed. But if there are SCOM 2022 agents already installed, or 2019, you can multi-home those agents to talk to SCOM MI, right? So you don't necessarily need to go ahead and install the agent, but you can multi-home them, right? A kind of a midway to migrate them to SCOM MI. Right, mid path to migration to SCOM MI. And Power BI reports. Power BI reports is not, to be honest, it's not actually a manual action, but again, it's you need to perform certain probably 2-3 steps to go ahead and set up Power BI reports. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. And then you can go ahead and view the alerts and metrics of the SCOM managed console, as well as the monitoring data. You can continue to view them on the operations console. Okay, I'll pause for a minute if there are any questions around the overall product intention and the architecture before jumping into the prerequisite side of things.
Well, we've had Aakash quite a number of questions that have come in, and if you want to take a couple now, maybe we can save the rest for a little bit later. Sure. The first question that came in was around costing. Is that something you plan on covering in today's session?
Yes, we will talk about it in after prerequisites.
Okay, perfect. Now, another question was, will SCOM MI work with the Azure Monitor agent?
The AMA, if I can call that Azure Monitoring Agent, unfortunately, no. They can function side by side. What I'm trying to say is SCOM agent can be installed on the same machine as that of AMA, and they will function side by side. We'll talk about what is in the roadmap when we talk about the AMA and all of it. All of that will be covered as part of roadmap.
Okay, well, maybe on that note then, Aakash, we'll save some of the other questions for a little bit later in your session.
Sure, thank you. So let's switch into how do we go ahead and create a new SCOM MI instance. Again, this is a preview version. There are a few dependencies with Active Directory, which is coming from on-prem SCOM, right? So those dependencies are nothing but the domain controller and the domain account. At the end of the day, SCOM MI is dependent on a domain, Active Directory domain. So either you need to have a domain controller on Azure or a domain controller in on-prem to which the SCOM MI can go ahead and talk to, right? In essentially, the management servers which are hosted beneath the instance will be joined to a domain, and that will require a domain account for that action, right? So we will need these two as a prerequisite. And then the managed identity. This account will replace all those 4 traditional service accounts which I was talking about, and this will be used to access SQL MI databases. Okay, we need a single managed identity which will have access on the SQL managed instance. Since we are using the Azure Load Balancer, we will need an IP address and an FQDN created within your domain, so that all the agents, they can go ahead and talk to that specific FQDN, right? And as I mentioned, this FQDN will be assigned to the load balancer. Okay, and the major part is on the SQL MI instance. Again, it's a very pretty straightforward process. You need to go ahead and click on create a new instance, and it will be ready in a matter of few minutes. But then you either need to have SQL MI instance before creating SCOM MI, or you can use an existing one. Okay, and GMSA, this is very important. The reason is we introduced GMSA concept in 2022, and this reduces a lot of a lot of overhead with regards to authentication and security, right? All those password resets, all of those which used to happen with previous service accounts. The GMSA takes care of all of that. Okay. So that is these are the prerequisites. We have documented all of this, and we'll talk about where the documentation is hosted in a couple of minutes. Okay. Having said that, I'm just a moment. Yeah, let me talk about this. Yeah, this is what the roadmap I was talking about. Currently in the public preview, this is where we are right now. Public preview phase. So right now we have patching available, manual patching, right? You can go ahead and click on update whenever an update is available. You have scaling, which is, you can go ahead and manually scale. I'll showcase all these in a demo in a minute. You have manual scaling for now. You have patching available. You have availability. Again, we are not promising a very high available SCOM MI instance. This is something which is Azure promised, but for high availability, we will be working towards a solution by GA. The monitoring experience is by Operations Console, as we talked about Operations and Web Console, and the management or onboarding is on Portal. There is no backup, restore, disaster recovery for public preview, which is built within the product, but we have a guided configuration available. Support and troubleshooting is going to be available on the portal, and then reporting will be Power BI. Okay, I missed to update this. I'm sorry. This is the second instance is happening. I'm going to update this, and then for GA, we are going to go towards automatic. We are going to build more robust platform for SCOM MI, where the backup restore is going to be inbuilt into the product along with high availability. It's going to have the Azure workbooks as an additional reporting layer, and we're also working with Squared Up, right? They already have reports and plugin available in the public preview, but then that is an additional layer, that additional reporting that users can make use of, right? Existing Squared Up users, along with Power BI and workbooks. Okay, but the North Star, right? The end of at the end of the day, SCOM MI, everything from onboarding to end-to-end managing will move towards Azure portal post GA, right? Patching will be mostly automatic. When I say automatic, it's that you're not going to go ahead. You as an monitoring admin don't need to go ahead and click on anything to update the instance, right? So we want to move towards auto patching and auto scaling. When I say auto scaling, when you increase the number of agents that is monitored by SCOM MI, you do not want to go ahead and scale it manually, right? So we will move towards auto patch, auto scaling and patching, and then we will have Grafana workbooks and Power BI for reporting. Okay. Having said that, let's quickly talk about the licensing and the cost for having SCOM MI. Okay. For SCOM MI public preview, the current version, there is no additional licensing cost for monitoring or for using the product, right? The cost which will be incurred for creating and using SCOM MI will be mainly based on what is available or what is created underneath, right? So you will be costed for the management server, which is of DS3v2 template, the VMSS service, the load balancer service, the SQL MI, the cost of SQL MI, and that's it. These are the top 4 compute charges, and of course you will have the network ingress and egress bandwidth consumption cost. So this is what the actual compute or actual cost you will incur when you go ahead and install SCOM MI currently. Okay, there are no additional cost or additional licensing required. For GA, we do not have or rather we will have the pricing model by GA, and we can have a deeper conversation for on licensing model when we have that information out. Okay, so that was one question which I hope it answered. We talked about there was another question, Harold, if I'm not sure if I answered. Well, there's something around agent, right? Around agent. So the conversation around agent is I know that there are going to be multiple agents now, SCOM agents, Azure monitoring agents, log analytics agents, right? At the end of the day, log analytic agents is on a deprecation path, right? Not SCOM agents. So that is point number 1. Point number 2 is AMA is going to be replacing log analytics agents, right? Any information that needs to be sent to cloud, AMA will be something that is going to be the future, right? Third point is from SCOM MI, we are working with the Azure Monitor team, the Azure Monitor agent team, to unify the agents. Again, this is work in progress, or this is a conversation in progress. We're not promising anything for now. At the end of the day, we want to reduce the number of agents which a user needs to install, right? That we want to reduce the pain of managing them, of installing and patching all of them. So we want to reduce that hurdle. And at the end of the day, SCOM agent and AMA, they both have different requirements, right? Prerequisites. So unifying them will reduce those prerequisites and requirements, right? So we want to solve for that. We will have a better clarity by GA. Having said that, I can quickly jump to the demo unless any other question that we want to go ahead and take up
Let's go ahead with the demo, Aakash, and then we'll come back to some of the questions that have been submitted.
Sure. So I forgot to mention there is going to be. I'm going to share this details or all these, or rather it's there in the slide which Harold has. All this is available, which you guys can go ahead and consume. One is the blog, the other one is documentation, and then there are getting started videos. So I'm going to keep my demo short because all of this is actually covered in the videos which are available in this links. I'm going to put them, or rather we're going to share this in the chat as well as in the slide later on. Having said that, I'm just going to quickly walk you through how this SCOM managed instance looks like. I'm not going to actually create one because average time taken to create a SCOM managed instance is somewhere between 45 to 50 minutes. We are, how much time we have, right? So we can go ahead and search for SCOM right from the, the search bar on the very top, or you can just, if it is previously accessed, you can just click on SCOM managed instance and it will bring you the overview page, right? In the overview page, you can go ahead and view all the instances, click on the, you can see the prerequisites. You can go ahead and create an instance right from here. Okay. Again, when you click on view details, it'll take you to the prerequisites page. All the prerequisites we talked about, right, that you need to configure in your on-premise with regards to line of sight and domain account, all of it is available. The, the managed service account and the SQL, all of it is available in the Azure portal tab view. Cool. Let's switch back and let's look at the instances. Again, I have a lot of instances created since we have been working, kind of tirelessly, as well as testing a lot of them. So I have an instance ready that I can just which we can go ahead and demo with. These are all different instances. In other words, these are all different management groups. So you can create different instances for different purposes. We'll take a look at each instance or one instance in a minute. Before that, let's show you how do you create an instance. When you create an instance, you choose the dashboard, the subscription, which one you want to go ahead and choose, and you go ahead and choose a resource group. So in my case, I'll choose AV Labs. One small caveat here. Resource group in which you create SCOM MI cannot have underscore. Let's say, for example, I have 19th August, right? It does not allow. So make sure you create a resource group without an underscore. Go ahead and you can go ahead and feed in, the name. So select test. And for now, okay, we have 10 character limit. For now, I forgot to mention this. The SCOM MI preview version is available only in 2 regions, which is West Europe and West US. We have talked about it even in our documentation. Okay. We will make it available in the future in more and more regions based on the usage, based on the existing telemetry, which says where do we find more number of SCOM users, right? So this is where we provide the Active Directory details, which is domain account. Let's say I give silect.com and then the IP address of the DNS server, which is in this domain, select.com, right? OU path is optional. Again, this is more of a Active Directory dependency. Key vault is where we store the domain account details, right? We don't ask the user to go ahead and put the password on the form here. We rather have the user create those key vault secrets and use those secrets here. Okay, so I have created the username with the name secret1 and password I have stored it as secret2. Okay, and Azure hybrid benefit, again, this is on the licensing side. This will be applicable when we approach GA. Okay, for now, let's keep it no. And then we go ahead and choose the VNet. It is recommended to have SQL managed instance and SCOM managed instance in the same VNet, but in a different subnet. Okay, this is where we go ahead and choose the load balancer details. I'm going to choose the IP address of which where the load balancer can be, the load balancer, the IP address which will be used by load balancer. Okay, sorry. And then lb.select.com. Again, these are all dummy details for to showcase how the create deployment looks like. And then computer group name, which is, I don't have it created, but let's say CG1, and then GMSA account, which is, let's say, silex /GMSA $, right? So once it's done, you click on next and you move to database. So this is where you choose where you want to create the databases and then choose the associated managed service identity. Okay, why do we need this identity? All of it is available as part of our prerequisites. Cool. Once that is done, that's it. Pretty straightforward. You click on, you move to the validation phase, you click on next, and that's it. Your managed instance is created. Okay. So I'm gonna exit this for now, and I'm gonna go to existing managed instance, and let's choose one of them. Over here, let's move to a different tab. In this tab, in the home tab of a specific instance, you can see all the details that you provided in the creation or in the deployment in the deployment phase, right? The GMSA account, the computer group, SQL MI instances, the load balancer details, all of it is available here. And you can also click on some of the YouTube videos which are available right now. And then you can go to SCOM MI infrastructure. This is the virtual machine recognizer or the identifier, the name. When I click on this bug bash 0 ms, you can actually see the number of servers which are hosted within it and the name of the servers. Okay. And by clicking on monitoring here, you can view the performance of the VMSS. Okay. What is the CPU, memory, disk usage, and all of it. Now let's go to scaling. Scaling, as I mentioned, is going to be manual scaling for now. That means right now I have 2 management servers in this instance, right, which can manage up to 2000 agents. So if I want to go ahead and let's say monitor 2500, so I key in the number of endpoints that I want to monitor, and then it automatically suggests that I need to have 3. So when I click on save, automatically it's going to add the delta, which is 1 server. So it will scale out to 3 servers, and within a matter of 15 to 20 minutes, a new additional server is added onto this instance. Okay. I also, as an end user, also have the flexibility to go ahead and add or change the number as per my wish. Okay. I can scale out to, let's say, up to 100, not more than that. That's the limitation of the VMSS for now. Or I can scale it down to 1. So as I mentioned, the recommendation is 1000 endpoints per server. Okay. So if I'm monitoring 2500 and if I'm keying in 1, it's going to say, it's going to give a warning saying that, hey, 2500 is too much for 1 server. Are you still want to go ahead? I'll say, yes, I'm okay with it. Let's go ahead and save. So I have the flexibility to scale in and scale out directly from this, from this tab. Okay. And then let's go to patching. Patching is pretty straightforward. As I mentioned, it's manual, but at the end of the day, you just need to click on update instance. So this update instance is actually going to cover operating system as well as SCOM SCOM updates. Okay. Yeah. So update patching is pretty straightforward. Nothing additional activity here. And a question which I get also all the time here is, will my SCOM MI instance, will it be available during update? Yes, it will be available. So that is taken care within the managed instance. Okay. And lastly, the Power BI. This is what I was talking about, one of the manual actions. The manual actions is you need to first go ahead and enable the public endpoint on the SQL instance, right? Because Power BI talks to talks to those databases using public endpoints. We are open to hearing how customers react to this, on whether they can enable public endpoint in their own network or in their own tenant or not. Based on that, we will see how do we work towards using private endpoints instead of public. Okay, so in my case, the public endpoint is enabled for this instance. Okay, it's enabled here. If it is disabled, you can just come here and enable it, and you can do that directly from the SCOM MI Power BI homepage. Okay, so once it is enabled, you can note down the database name, the data warehouse database name, and the endpoint URL of that instance or of that databases. You note this down in a notepad, and the reason you note down them is we use that in the app. Okay, so when I click on this, I hope I should have opened powerbi.com. Takes a while. So when I click on this configure dashboard, it's going to take me to the powerbi.com, and it will take me to a browser where the app is available, or where an app can be downloaded from. This is a Power BI app which has been published by us, by Microsoft, so that an end user can just go ahead and click and get it now, and then have many pre-built reports ready to consume and report. Okay, so I can go ahead and click on get it now, and it will be available, in a matter of few minutes. So once the app is installed, it will be available in my workspace. So if I go to my apps, I hope I have it installed. Okay, if this comes up well and good. Once the app is installed, this is the homepage that you will see, that there are 4 reports by default: alerts, summary, management packs, SCOM health, and monitors by management pack. Okay, so you will see dummy data here. You need to click on connect your data here on the top. Once you click on connect your data, I hope it came up. Yes, it came up. Okay, so once you click on connect your data, you're going to use this information, the database name and the endpoint URL. So you're going to use that in the form. Okay, you're going to use that here, let's say, and then I'm going to give him some random name. Okay, once this is ready, what you do is you click on next. I hope it doesn't validate there. It usually validates on the authentication side of things. Okay, once you click on next, it will authenticate you whether you have credentials on this specific databases, right? You need to have a database reader on that database. Okay, so it's going to verify that, and again, it uses my login credentials. I've logged in using my Microsoft account. It's going to use that. Okay, over here, it's going to check, or rather, it's going to ask whether you want to use OAuth credentials or not. In my case, I'm going to use OAuth because I have been added as a database reader on this database. Okay, so once done, I click on sign in and connect. That database, or the information will start flowing in, and you will see the live data. Right, you have filters to go ahead and choose the dates that you want to go ahead that you want to filter with, and alerts by severity. And again, you may say that, hey, these reports don't look very elaborate. Why are we having so less amount of reports? The reason is Power BI lets you create n number of reports on your app, right? So once you have made this connection successful, you can then go ahead and create and you can edit it as per your business requirements. Okay, and once you create them, you share it with your colleagues, and you're kind of democratizing the reports. Okay, and as I mentioned, in GA we will have workbooks also added, Azure Workbooks, which is a kind of a native reporting tool for Azure Monitor. Okay, so that is a very quick overview of these of SCOM MI's instance. As I mentioned, we'll share the link where you can access this YouTube videos, which has the same information. Then we'll share the link where you can create a SCOM MI instance, gives information on how to do it, what are the possible ways to migrate. Right. One quick closing thought for migration, since Silect is taking over the next part. From Microsoft, we are providing a guided documentation on how to migrate the artifacts into SCOM MI. By GA, we are hoping to make it a little bit more easier for users who want to migrate from SCOM to SCOM MI. Okay, so and then the link to announcement. All this will be made available as part of the presentation. Okay, over to you, Harold.
Yeah, that's great stuff, Aakash. Thank you so much. Maybe what we could do is perhaps you could answer a couple of questions before we start talking about some of the migration steps. Sure. So a question comes in, is there a plan to monitor Azure features and resources with SCOM MI better than there is today? For example, native support for monitoring Kubernetes.
Again, I believe there are few management packs to monitor Kubernetes. If the management pack is existing, then you can use them. We are not building a native feature within SCOM MI to do those additional monitoring.
Okay, another question from David. SCOM shell still, the question is, does the SCOM shell still work with SCOM MI?
It will. Again, since in preview, you have access to the management servers. So the shell will continue to work, but then we are evaluating on whether we want to go ahead and allow remoting into the management servers or not by GA. We want to make it a complete managed instance where you don't need to go ahead and remote into those servers. Rather, you can interact it with an API from external, right? So that should work. Ideally, it should work, the shell.
Okay, question from Ian. Will SCOM MI have SDK API that we can use to get alerts out to send to ServiceNow?
The existing API and SDKs are available, the SCOM SDK APIs, but of course, we will make it more Azure centric and where you can use SCOM MI APIs built on Azure, which you can talk, where the third-party tools can talk to those APIs directly.
Right. Okay, and maybe one more question before we just flip back to the session. Is there support for creating custom MPs and tenant monitoring on-prem for customers that are not migrated to Azure yet? Support for creating custom. Not sure I fully understand the question.
Yeah, I mean, we are not changing any of those authoring models. So if you've been traditionally creating and authoring management packs, you should be able to do it still.
Well, then the next question actually is a good segue into the next section. What's the path for migration of existing SCOM to Azure SQL MI?
No, there is not going to be any migration from SCOM on-prem SQL databases to SQL MI. It's going to be a brand new setup in SQL MI.
Yeah. Okay, with that, Aakash, if I could maybe ask you just to stay around, I'm going to just talk about some of the migration steps, and then maybe we can come back to some of these questions that still haven't been answered.
Sure, I'll respond to some of the questions over the chat.
Yeah, that's perfect. Excellent. Thank you so much. So as Aakash mentioned, I mean, there are a number of things to consider when migrating to SCOM MI. It's very much, and this is, if you want to trial SCOM MI today, or perhaps in the future, move to SCOM MI once it becomes generally available. Side-by-side migration makes the most sense, and it's low impact. You can multi-home your agents, as Aakash had mentioned. The great thing about SCOM MI, you don't have to think about versions of the operating system, SQL, SCOM, patching, etc. That's all taken care of by Microsoft on the back end, which is great. And clearly the whole topic of SCOM migration we could dedicate a webinar or even a couple of webinars to that topic. Lots of things to think about: management packs and overrides, all the customizations, dashboards, roles, notification settings, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going to quickly touch on this very first subject here, which is management packs and overrides. There's a number of things that we can do to help throughout that migration. I mean, we do publish some Power BI dashboards today to help you analyze your existing SCOM environment and perhaps use that information to help you review and tune management packs before you move them to SCOM MI. Anytime you do a migration, it's a great opportunity to consolidate overrides and to organize your environment and structure it in a succinct way. Backing up management packs is another important step. And today, actually, what I'm going to be showing you is we're introducing the migration wizard. And with the migration wizard, let's just take a quick look at what that looks like. So here I'm running the MP Studio product, and the migration wizard is designed to very easily move all of your management packs from an on-prem SCOM environment into SCOM MI. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I've got a couple of my on-prem management groups registered here. The first thing I want to do is I want to register my new SCOM MI instance. And what I'm going to do is provide it the name of the load balancer. And just as we wait for this to register that new management group, one of the great things that we found about SCOM MI is a lot of the things that we do with as a third-party integration just works. The interfaces, the APIs, we haven't had to do a lot of work to be able to accommodate SCOM MI. And I can't, speak to other, products or other integrations, but it's certainly something that makes it very, very easy for us to make use of SCOM MI. Now, let's see if we got this, have this management group registered. So here we can see that new SCOM MI instance that we're looking at all the management packs that are running and installed on that SCOM MI instance. Presumably, these are all sort of the inbox MPs that Microsoft includes. And let's jump right into that migration assistant. And what this is going to allow me to do is choose which management group I want to migrate from. So I'm going to go from my on-prem SCOM 2019 environment. I'm going to go and move those management packs. Well, not move, actually going to copy those management packs into my SCOM MI instance. It's going to, first of all, evaluate the management packs on-prem to determine which management packs don't require migration. So here I've got a number of management packs where a newer version of the MP already exists in SCOM MI. And you can see a number of sealed MPs that already exist in SCOM MI. I've also got a number of management packs where we have the same version exists both on-prem and in SCOM MI. So of course, those don't require migration. Next, it's going to take a look at the SCOM MI instance and determine what management packs we'll need to migrate. So here it's saying I've got a number of sealed MPs on my on-prem environment that should be migrated to SCOM MI, and I've got a number of unsealed MPs that exist locally that should get migrated as well. At this point, I can choose to select one or more of these MPs for my migration. For example, I can go ahead and click the Select All. Click on Next. We're going to get a final confirmation screen, and clicking Finish is going to start the process of copying all of those sealed and unsealed management packs from my on-prem environment into SCOM MI. At that point, then, I'll have an environment that looks very similar from a monitoring configuration perspective in Azure that I do have on-prem. The resulting report, because this can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, I did this previously. The resulting report is going to give me a confirmation of all the MPs that were successfully migrated into SCOM MI. And again, as I said earlier, one of the great things that we found is as an ISV working with SCOM MI is things just work. Whether it's our Power BI dashboards or whether it's our MP Studio product, things just work with that new platform. Okay, so let's go back to, let's just go back to the slides. And here are some additional resources. Aakash provided us some resources on some of the SCOM MI resources. Here are some other links that I'm going to send along as part of the slides to everyone who is registered, including MP Studio. I'm going to call out a couple of others in the community. Topcore Bob has done a great job on some migration webinars. He's worked with us in the past. Those are always good to follow if you're considering migrating to SCOM MI. And of course, Kevin Holman has a number of blogs and content related to SCOM migration as well. So call out Kevin for those. And with that, Aakash, let's go back to the questions. Are there some other questions you've had a chance to maybe look at and can answer?
Yeah, so there were a few questions around the security of the databases. Can every SCOM MI user access it? No. As I mentioned, you need to have database reader. Only then you can go ahead and snoop in to the actual databases. Okay. For GA, we are working with a consolidated RBAC model, where let's say if you're, I'm just giving an example, if you're a SCOM MI contributor, then you can probably read into the SQL databases. If you're a SCOM MI reader, then no, you cannot go ahead and snoop into the databases, but you can probably look at the reports. Okay, again, this is just work in progress. This is something which we will come back with more clarity by GA. I'm just looking at few questions. Some of them have actually been answered by Bob because he's been working on this parallelly as well. And of course, there have been questions around the longevity of SCOM on-premise. No, we are not taking away SCOM on-premise. That will continue to function. The SCOM 2022 was recently out, if not recently, at least about 9 months ago. That will be available at least till 2032, 10 years support system. And another piece of information here is System Center is sim shipping or will sim ship with Windows versions. So whenever there is going to be a next version of Windows, System Center will go ahead and release the entire System Center portfolio of products along with the same version of Windows. Okay. Yeah, so the native integration of monitoring data, as I mentioned, workbooks that will be available. Currently, Azure Monitor uses workbooks. The old Azure dashboards are gone, monitoring dashboards. The GA timeframe, that's a very tricky question. Only if I had a magic ball, right? Unfortunately, we do not have any specific timelines that we can talk about for GA. 2023, we are hoping in the first half of 2023, right? We're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed. Again, there is a lot of feedback that we're looking to get from you folks who are going to try the product out, right? And the more feedback we get, the more validation we'll have, and there's going to be a learning curve on this. So we're looking forward to hearing from you. The Power BI app, you should be able to reach into SCOM on-prem. I don't think so. The Power BI app has the flexibility to do that. Silect has a Power BI app which was made available about a couple of years ago. It was a similar concept. Again, it uses the concept of gateway, if I'm not wrong. Using the concept of gateway, you can talk to anything in on-prem. So Power BI is just one of the applications that makes use of gateway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someone was asking if Silect products will be free with SCOM MI. Harold.
We are going to be, if you're interested in the public preview and you want to take a look at that migration wizard, absolutely, we can make that available to you. I mean, the products that, long-term, no, we're not planning on making our products available free of charge, but we certainly make it possible for broad adoption by some aggressive licensing and pricing.
Thanks. And again, SCOM Managed Instance is a hybrid monitoring solution. So a single instance can go ahead and monitor on-premise as well as Azure. So it's not exclusive, as pointed out by Evika. There was a question on management pack. I'm not capable of answering that for now. Again, there is no change in management pack concept. So if the same logic worked with on-prem, the same logic will work with SCOM MI.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is a repeated question. There is no additional licensing for SCOM MI, as indicated earlier. For GA, we will look to consolidate the licensing from System Center to Azure benefits. Network port changes, yes, of course, because you're stepping into Azure. All of that information is available, will be made available in the documentation. The links will be shared with you guys soon. Right. So yeah, we can. I believe it's going to be a bit of a repetitive question. I'll see if I find anything interesting. I will take that offline on this chat then.
Sure. Yeah, and what we'll do, Aakash, is we'll itemize the questions that we didn't get to, and see if we can get those answered, and we'll publish up all those answers. So. Well, that's great. I really appreciate your time, Aakash. This is great to see SCOM MI come to fruition. I think there's just based on the attendance today and the questions, there's a lot of interest in that new SCOM MI service. We look forward to making use of it more and more. And as I said earlier, all the content presented today will be made available to everybody who registered. And I guess with that, we can wrap things up. Aakash, any closing remarks before we end today's session?
No, I mean, yes, of course. Again, very thankful for Silect team who have worked with us over the past couple of years on other projects as well and helped in testing and validating SCOM MI. And along with this, again, the onus is on folks who have joined on the call, there are about 100+ participants who can at least go ahead and install SCOM MI, give the feedback. There is a link which I'll share. We want them to go ahead and take a kind of a qualitative survey so that we can hear, how the experience is like and what are the room for improvements.
Excellent. Well, that's great. And with that, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you, Aakash. Thank you, Mike. And enjoy the rest of your day today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye now.